Good morning, Madam President and most distinguished members of the Commission. My name is Damien Gomez. I am the Member of Parliament for Central and South Eleuthera. I am also Minister of State for Legal Affairs, and it is in that capacity that I appear before you today, leading the delegation of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. At the outset, it is our distinct pleasure and my privilege to repeat the extension to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights of the open invitation of the Government of the Bahamas to visit the Commonwealth of the Bahamas at such times as are convenient to the Commission and at such periods of notice as the Commission deems appropriate. This repeated invitation is substantive evidence of the Bahamas' commitment to its transparent adherence to democratic norms such as the rule of law and constitutionalism. We pride ourselves as an example of the democracy in action and relish the opportunity to further engage in the wider international cooperation for the global attainment of universal adherence to the promotion of the enjoyment of human rights. It is also with great pleasure that we acknowledge the sterling academic reputation of not only you, Madam President, but other members of the Commission. And it is in that capacity, as regional academics and champions of human rights, that an invitation is extended to you at a personal level to forge relationships with other academics at the College of the Bahamas in its transformation to the University of the Bahamas. The deepening of regional sensitivity to human rights and the understanding thereof depends in large measure upon a vibrant intellectual debate across cultures and borders. It is our hope that the norms embraced by the Bahamas will have universal acceptance in our region, irrespective of language, culture, creed, or legal system. Our appearance before you ought to be viewed not merely as a court or commission appearance, confined, as it were, to the four corners of the petitions, which is the strict subject matter of this hearing. The general public are aware of these proceedings, which are being streamed live on the internet. The general public are aware through press releases and public commentary emanating from at least one of the petitioners. And it is in that context that we regard statements made outside of the precincts of this hearing today and in some way inferentially drawn into this conversation this morning by the allegation that threats have been made against persons who appear before you. At the outset, let me say that the Government of the Bahamas is not party to any such threats, though it is my duty to make reference to some rather outlandish and bizarre allegations which have been made about the Bahamas, which may well have colored some of the public statements private citizens may have made individually to members of the petitioners. And we stand ready to defend their right to free speech. That is the petitioners and those persons who would have expressed themselves to the petitioners. But the false, baseless, and malicious allegations made against the Bahamas and its people is deserving of a response. Our history of respecting human rights predates our independence. Indeed, our support of Haiti and its people in the attainment of economic, political, and social stability emanates from an abiding and unflinching belief in the dignity of our shared human condition. Madam President and most distinguished commissioners, it is with pain that I must refer to allegations written and spoken by one of the petitioners before you. They have, as boldly as the falsity of their allegation, asserted that the government of the Bahamas has embraced fascism and Nazism in a targeted campaign to commit genocide against Haitian nationals. They even maintained that there are concentration camps in the Bahamas and compared the detention center to Auschwitz. These lies cannot be left unanswered, It is my solemn duty to protect the name and reputation of our people. That really is the sole purpose of my attendance here today. Let not my good manners detract from the depth of outrage collectively felt by the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas at the defamation of our country. In 1648, the original English settlers of the Bahamas arrived to establish a free society in which they might practice their religion without let or hindrance of the English crown or the Church of England. They settled on the island of Eleuthera, the Greek word for freedom. Shortly after settlement, a large number of black slaves were deported from Bermuda to Eleuthera, where they were immediately freed. Without a royal permit, the settlers pursued the establishment of their New Jerusalem. They held democratically elected assemblies well before the Bahamas became recognized by the English crown as a colony to be kept, whereupon letters patent were issued and our democracy institutionalized. The common law protected human rights. Much later, in 1963, a Bill of Rights was enshrined in the second written constitution affecting the Bahamas. In 1969 and 1973, two further constitutions sought further to explicitly protect human rights by repeating the 1963 Bill of Rights. In colonial and post-colonial times, human rights has been an essential feature not only of Bahamian law, but also of Bahamian culture. It is in this context that the public utterances of the petitioner has evoked outrage and contempt as openly expressed by ordinary members of the public. We join the public in condemning the outlandish and bizarre allegations made by the petitioners about the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Madam President, distinguished commissioners, while we condemn the utterances, we embrace the petitioners in the Christian love and charity that we are accustomed to. As the Minister of Legal Affairs, it is part of my duty to ensure that any breach of the criminal law is visited with a response from the state. Should members of the petitioners feel that their lives or their health has been in any way endangered and they wish to make a complaint, they are free to do so, and we will enforce the laws of the Bahamas in the ordinary course of things. We protect human rights, we enforce our criminal laws, and we do so out of a duty that emanates from law. Turning now to the petition, we point out immediately that the petitioners have failed to identify a single victim of human rights abuses in the Bahamas or a single failing in our domestic judicial institutions to provide adequate redress. But we appear as Portia to demonstrate the purity of our response to the demands of upholding human rights in good and bad times when even our closest neighbors fail to respond. With your leave, Madam President, I would like to refer to the photographs which we have furnished for the Commission, which show the safe house at which children with their mothers are kept while awaiting being deported back to their country, and also pictures of the dormitory, which has been recently constructed at over a cost of $1 million by the government of the Bahamas in response to complaints, not merely of the petitioners, but of persons generally about the conditions at the detention center. I'll continue until those photographs become available. But we ask you to note the bunk beds and the state-of-the-art bathroom and toilet facilities. These are hardly evidence of a concentration camp, much less Auschwitz. Note also the furniture and facilities at the safe house rented from the Catholic Archdiocese of Nassau and the Bahamas. Would the Catholic Church satisfy the petitioners as part of civil society? Here, the Catholic Church is participating in a private-public partnership to protect young people. Would the Catholic Church partner with purveyors of genocide? I think not. Yet this is what, in private utterances, the petitioners would have the public believe. The petitioners allege that Haitians are singled out. Our public records show otherwise. The government of the Bahamas acts even-handedly in respect of the enforcement of our laws. There is no racial or ethnic preference or bias. The figures tell the truth, and we will refer to the charts in due course. Our national security agencies have collected intelligence about the smugglers of illegal migrants from Haiti. It is reported that the fee charged each migrant ranges from $1,500 to $5,000. The criminal enterprises of human trafficking and smuggling is a new scourge to our country. It poses new risks to the Bahamas. These risks require a measured response to ensure that our laws are enforced and obeyed by all. The witting or unwitting comfort given by the petitioners to these criminal enterprises is noted with deprecation. Our duty is to govern, and that is what we intend to do. We cooperate with the international community in the fight against both human trafficking and terrorism. Law enforcement requires that we know and account for all aliens in our jurisdiction as far as is humanly possible. This is consistent with existing law and the amendments to the Immigration Act now being debated in our Parliament. Our duty to govern also embraces our responsibility to give substance to constitutional rights enjoyed or to be enjoyed by subjects of our Commonwealth. Hitherto, the passage of the amendments sought children who are natives of the Bahamas but born to foreign parents enjoy no right to remain in the Bahamas during their infancy or minority. At 18 and until their 19th birthday, they have a right to apply for Bahamian citizenship. The amendments which are being debated, when passed, will improve upon the situation of such persons. The amendments confer a status of belonger upon such natives, enabling those children to enjoy a legal right to remain in the Bahamas, to pass and repass into and out of the Bahamas, to attend school, to attend college, to attend university, as if they are full citizens of the Bahamas. Additionally, such persons may work without obtaining a work permit. The only right not enjoyed by such persons is the right to vote. In essence, the belonger status is akin to permanent residence with the right to work. That is 1,000,000 times more of a benefit to the thousands of persons who were born in the Bahamas to foreign parents. We are completely awestruck that these salutary changes to the law of immigration are being questioned when all that we are seeking to do is to ensure that these persons are enabled to live regular, normal lives without fear, without let, without hindrance. Suddenly, when these laws are passed, such persons who now cannot open a bank account will be able to open a bank account. Such persons will be able to participate in the formal economy in a way that they have previously not been able to do. And yet, we are here and we are being criticized for attempting to ameliorate the condition of the very people who the petitioners are claiming to represent. Far from fascism or Nazism, we seek the embrace of our brothers and sisters born in our midst, the foreigners, who have made varying degrees of contribution to our development. Many of these people are of Haitian descent, but many also are of other nationalities and ethnicities. Many of these people are poor, but some of these people are well-to-do or rich. We seek the inclusion of all of their talents, recognizing that the Bahamas benefits by that inclusiveness more than it loses. Madam President and distinguished commissioners, we in the Bahamas have faced illegal migration for longer than we have enjoyed independence. Throughout this experience, we have extended Christian charity to the weakest amongst us: infants, children, young persons, the aged, the sick, and the infirm. We have provided schools and education, even granting it as a legal right, irrespective of the immigration status of the child. We have provided health care irrespective of person's immigration status, and we have done so for, among other reasons, to promote public health and to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. Our history of inclusion is now being questioned in spite of consistent public statements from the ministers of immigration, education, health, and social services. This Bahamian tradition is questioned in the face of publicly disclosed expenditures and budgetary data, which demonstrates the commitment of the Bahamas to the creation of a democratic, great, and socially fair society. There is no threat to any child in the school system that he or she will be deprived of an education while within the Bahamas. Nor is there any threat to any immigrant that he or she will be denied medical care. Simply, there is no basis for the defamatory petition brought by the petitioners. And in closing, Madam President and members of the Commission, I meet with civil society once every month. It includes the church, and we have the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church in attendance. We have the Baptist churches, the entire array of the religious community attends on a regular basis at the Office of the Attorney General. Secondly, we meet with non-religious members of civil society, trade unionists, and other interest groups. We spend a large amount of time discussing with the Bar Association and others questions about law and how it could be better fine-tuned to assure the public of the delivery of proper services. The government itself funds the Eugene DePuch Law School, which has a legal aid clinic. That legal aid clinic has been assisted by the UNHCR, which meets with the Immigration Department on a relatively regular basis, which participates in the training of the Immigration Department for the purpose of dealing with migrant rights, and more specifically with the rights of persons to claim asylum. The country indication by the petitioners, quite frankly, contradicts publicly published documents, such as reports by UNHCR, and that ought to be a cause for concern. We say that we are complying with our international obligations. We are open about it. We pride ourselves with the fact that we engage internationally with all forms of entities, and we do so hoping that we can improve upon what we do. There are times when we fall short. Yes, there was an allegation of rape against a Jamaican national recently. The alleged rapist is currently charged before the courts and awaiting trial. That is what a responsible government does. It enforces its laws. It brings people to court. Those persons are given a fair hearing. If they are convicted, they are sentenced. And when they are sentenced, they're detained in prison. That is how the system works. We are doing our best to ensure that all persons have access to justice and that they have a fair shake at asserting whatever right they may feel that they have. Thank you.